meetings with British Prime Minister Theresa May, emphasising globalisation. China's 2017 industrial profits jumped 21% from a year ago, posting the fastest growth in 6 years. And the European Central Bank leaves its benchmark interest rate unchanged after policy meeting on Thursday. Hello and welcome to Global Business on CGTN, China Global Television Network, live from Beijing. I'm Zheng Junfen. Let's start with our fourth episode with the 5-day World Economic Forum annual meeting special coverage from Davos to Davos. It means from winter Davos in Switzerland to summer Davos in China. Besides reporters in Swiss ski resort of Davos, we also have reporters in the Chinese city of Tianjin, the host of this year's summer Davos. We follow the new and broader narratives to create a shared future. The 48th Annual World Economic Forum is coming to an end in the Swiss town of Davos. The theme of this year's event is creating a shared future in a fractured world. On Thursday, or day 3 of the forum, many participants, including British Prime Minister Theresa May, emphasized the importance of globalization and a need to promote free trade.
And as we leave the European Union, the UK will continue to be a global advocate of free trade. But there is much more to be done by the whole international community. And frankly, too often our rhetoric in support of free trade here in Davos is not matched by our actions.
Many at the forum shared May's view. In his speech, Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki called for inclusive and strong economic growth in Europe. He said countries should work on deals to tackle issues like global inequality. With his country set to host year's G20 summit, Argentine President Mauricio Macri said world leaders should help their citizens adapt to changes brought about by globalization. Thousands gathered in the small alpine town in a bid to address critical global challenges. As the participants at the forum exchanged views on how to find solutions on a shared future, they also saw U.S. President Donald Trump's arrival in the Swiss ski town of Davos. The president, who has put an emphasis on American first, will deliver Friday's closing keynote speech. CGTN's Jack Barton is on the ground at the forum.
Security was everywhere and on high alert in Davos for the arrival of U.S. President Donald Trump. Despite a series of roadblocks, a handful of protesters slipped through.
A president who is a racist. Trump not welcome.
Trump is the first U.S. president to attend Davos in 18 years. Though he belittled the forum and delegates during his election campaign as elite globalists, his tone was different on Thursday.
It's very exciting to be here. We're very happy to be here.
Some delegates have been calling for a walkout of his speech. Others say that would go against the spirit of the forum. Trump had kind words for his pro-globalization British counterpart Theresa May, who he held talks with shortly after arrival. Trump said the US and UK would develop deeper economic and military ties. Meeting with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump said US aid to the Palestinians would halt until they joined peace talks.
When they disrespected us a week ago by not allowing our great vice president to see them, and we give them hundreds of millions of dollars in aid and support, tremendous numbers that nobody understands. That money is on the table, and that money is not going to them unless they sit down and negotiate peace.
Trump will deliver the closing speech of the forum on Friday. In the meantime, we've heard the highly anticipated speech of Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May, who surprised everybody by completely skipping over the topic of her country's exit from the European Union. Instead, May talked about things like artificial intelligence and internet regulation, saying social media companies should be liable for content posted on their platforms.
No one wants to be known as the terrorist's platform or the first choice app for paedophiles.
There are still a few speeches and many meetings to go, but all the focus now is on what Trump might say. America first, according to the White House, but maybe a softer tone on international relations and climate change. At least that's the hope here in Davos. Jack Barton, CGTN, at the World Economic Forum.
Now we're joined by Chonglei in Davos, Switzerland, and Cui Huao in Tianjin. Hi guys. Chonglei, to you first. What's the latest for us today?
Hey there, Junfeng. It is the last day of the Davos Forum. I'm going to miss the snow, of course, and hobnobbing with all these bigwigs, including going to the annual George Soros dinner last night, which was quite interesting because for the first time ever, he did not have any dire pronouncements about any country's economy. I mean, sure, he tore apart Putin and Trump and called the internet giants menaces to society, but there was nothing about pessimism in the global economy. So when George Soros doesn't sound downbeat about the global economy, you know we're in a pretty positive place. And with me to talk more about that positive place is the chairman of Baker McKenzie, one of the world's largest legal firms, Mr. Paul Rawlinson. Nice to have you with us again.
Nice to be here.
In Davos. Paul, so run me through where we are in terms of Brexit, because we were waiting for Theresa May to give us a heads up yesterday, and she talked about artificial intelligence.
Yes, quite. Well, you know, when we were standing here this time last year, we were facing a pretty daunting prospect of the whole process, and I have to say that 1 year on, having got the exit negotiations out of the way, or at least a framework for that, we're now into a much more positive mood. So the mood music is good. Both sides are thinking that it's best to do a deal, which is good.
So they start dancing.
Now we're into the sort of business agenda, and the next 3 to 6 months are going to be critical so that we can see the shape of the proposed deal, which everyone's looking forward to.
And what about deal flow in M&As, in IPOs? How's that working out for companies such as yourself?
I agree with you on the George Soros thing, that there is a positive mood, and our transactions forecast is looking at 3.2 trillion for global M&A this year, 2018, which is a significant uptick on last year, a substantial uptick in IPO as well. So, and that's right across the globe. So it's the first time for a long time that we've seen this global economy growth somehow mutually reinforcing. Obviously, the interconnectedness of the markets is increasing, and it's a positive forecast for 2018. 2019, second half, perhaps running out of steam. We'll see, but certainly this year we have really good cause for optimism.
So what does this mean for the legal industry? Is this time to start looking at new technologies, to continue your digitalization process? How is legal tech working out?
Good question. So the demand for legal services is as high as ever. The complexity of doing business, our clients want us to be helping them not just do the deals, but look for opportunities, navigate these complexities of increasing regulation. But they're also saying to us, you need to sort of do it more efficiently and embrace technology. So we've implemented automated tools for our lawyers so that they can access things that used to take human time is now available to them as AI tools that we're deploying. And so that process of changing the nature of the legal work, what we're calling the new lawyer is tech savvy, is agile, is
probably
business
more creative.
So it's a great opportunity for young talent to come into the profession.
So instead of saying that the workforce is going to shrink because of AI or automation, the augmented intelligence will actually make the boring workload lighter.
Absolutely.
Is that what I'm reading?
Absolutely, and the human capital of experience, obviously the human interface, the judgment that you get from experience is what clients really value, but wanting to do the sort of execution side as efficiently as possible. So I think it does create a much more effective and creative workforce for the future.
I've been talking to a lot of attendees about blockchain and ICOs, cryptocurrencies, and I'm getting a lot from, I guess, certainly the big names in banking. They're all very, very negative. They all say there's no intrinsic value, it's just a matter of time. And then you speak to some of the more entrepreneurial, maybe the greedy, as George Soros calls them, and they're all very gung-ho. I mean, what does it mean for the legal industry?
So there's two things, isn't there? There's the cryptocurrency thing, and it's a very young, new industry, if you like.
Volatile.
It's going to go through ups and downs. I think there will be a place for cryptocurrency as a more stable currency, but the underlying technology of blockchain is what I find more interesting. So blockchain itself and how that's going to be available to enable us all to do business more transparently and in a more stable and secure environment is the fascinating thing. And I think that is something which we haven't even seen beginnings of.
And what do you make of the speeches out of this year's Davos versus last year? Last year, of course, Chinese President Xi Jinping really wowing the crowds. This year, we've had Modi, Merkel, Macron spell out their visions. Your thoughts?
So yeah, like I say, this time last year was a very different mood. Protectionism, the fear of breaking down of international trade in different ways, and what we see now, obviously culminating with the arrival of Donald Trump, and we'll see what he has to say this afternoon. But the mood music now and the language now is very much we're open for business, whether it's bilateral or multilateral. There's different sort of emphasis from the different leaders, but there's very much a sense that people want to be looking at the international trade environment as re-establishing its authority, if you like, from the sort of risk of protectionism which we saw last year. We're not out of the woods. Clearly this wave of optimism has got to trickle down into meaningful economic growth for all, not for a few. So there's a lot of challenges, but we have the ability to look forward to a good prospect for 2018, and that's what the leaders are reflecting, I think.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, and
enjoy
the rest of your day in Davos.
Thank you.
That was Paul Rawlinson, Chairman of Baker McKenzie. So just this morning, before I got to this live interview, I was interviewing the Deputy Prime Minister of Turkey, who, again, I did interview last year when there were a lot of concerns about the referendum. And since then, of course, 2017 was very strong for the Turkish economy. They're not expecting that, of course, that momentum to quite continue as strongly this year, but still they are in a very good place. And all they have to do now is, as Deputy Prime Minister Simsek says, keep the geopolitical drag as little as possible, which we saw last weekend with their incursion into the Afrin area of Syria, is worrying some investors. Back to you, Junfeng.
Yeah, Charlie, thanks for that. We also look forward to President Donald Trump's speech, which happens at 9 o'clock Beijing time, our show. We'll see you then again. And Cui Huiyao, what do you have in Tianjin today for us?
Hi, Junfeng. It is the last day of our special coverage, and Tianjin is just as cold as it was when we first came here 5 days ago. But surely the temperature will pick up and the weather will be nice and warm when the city hosts the 6th Summer Davos in about 5 months. And it seems to be a perfect partnership that's been working well for both the Summer Davos and China. While the forum has brought fresh opportunities to Tianjin, the port city is also injecting vigor and vitality into the forum. My colleague Zhou Yun has the story.
The World Economic Forum will have two pillars. One is the Winter Davos, the other Summer Davos. This is what Klaus Schwab, founder and executive chairman of the forum, said when the first Summer Davos was held in Dalian in 2007. Alternating between Tianjin and Dalian ever since, the annual forum has become one of the most important global business gatherings in Asia. China has remained a strong engine for the global growth in the meantime, serving as a stabilizing factor in the world full of uncertainty. And Tianjin and Dalian now are using the platform to help many multinational companies find their feet in the country. And indeed, Tianjin now is home to more than 160 Fortune Global 500 companies, and their success is now attracting even more international players.
Tianjin has strong regional advantages. Summer Davos has become a showcase to display its latest developments, investment environments, and industry policies. Those factors are drawing companies from home and abroad to come.
Apart from the economic benefits, many international guests have also taken to Tianjin's rich culture, as well as its spirit for innovation and collaboration.
What's been wonderful on the cultural side is that the cities always support an evening of China culture. We actually have also a tea station where China can represent some of its traditional arts and cultures. Cities like Tianjin are now organizing other events like AI summits and so on, and they're able to bring that thinking and their experts from the city to the international dialogue, and I think it really enriches with China's perspective, but also allows them to bring international perspectives home to their cities.
With China now becoming more active in global gatherings like the Davos Forum, the Chinese values, cultures, and wisdom is also gaining increasing popularity on the world stage. And the deeper cooperation between China and Davos is also generating new momentum as well as opportunities for a stronger and more vibrant global economy. So Yun, CGTN, Tianjin.
With me now to talk about some of the interesting topics is Mr. Adedigba Alawain, a scholar from Nigeria and Nankai University. Thank you again for joining us on our program. We've been talking a lot about how Summer Davos has benefited Tianjin and city, broadened the horizon of many locals and helping local companies to grow. And exchange goes both ways. What do you think that China has brought to Davos?
Well, I'd like to think of that in one word, and that word will be access. What China has done, and Tianjin in particular, by hosting the Summer Davos, is give companies from outside access to China's innovative capabilities, because China is now taking a leading role in innovation in a host of industries. So what that means is it gives these companies, foreign companies now, access to collaborate, access to invest in these Chinese companies. So that's the key thing that I think China has brought to participants and other stakeholders in the World Economic Forum.
Let's go back to the theme of this year's Winter Davos event, which is called Strengthening Cooperation in a Fractured World. So what should be the role of China exactly? Is it a global connector or a leader?
Well, I'll say a bit of both, because with leadership comes great responsibility, and one of the responsibilities of a leader is to ensure that there's an absence of conflict, and if there is conflict, to resolve the conflict. And that is something we've seen China doing. China, I would say, has generally been the calm head, the head of reason when there are a lot of conflicts around the world. And I think this draws from the foreign policy of China, that policy of non-intervention in local affairs. I think this puts China in good stead to come across as an unbiased observer and contributor in a host of troubles around the world.
One of the key terms at the Davos Forum is inclusiveness, inclusive growth, which is a concept that China is very keen on, a big supporter of. What do you mean by inclusiveness, do you think?
Well, inclusive growth, I'd like to look at it through two angles. One angle is if you look at it purely from the point of view of economics. Basically, what inclusive growth means is you want both your macroeconomic variables and your microeconomic variables moving in the same direction. You want all sectors of the economy growing at par. You don't want any sector to lag. Now, another way to look at inclusive growth is through the socio-economic lens. What that means is you want every citizen of your country to benefit, to partake in the economic growth and development, the benefits that accrue to your country.
So helping other countries to grow through projects like a Belt and Road Initiative. But the word inclusiveness and as well as sustainability, these are very abstract terms. Do you think this is all about a utopia word, or is it actually achievable?
Well, I think it is achievable, and if we need evidence for that, we don't need to look further than China. China has been able to achieve economic growth in the shortest time possible. So that means there are certain things the world, and now when I say the world, other countries at large, can learn from China. So it may take time, but it is achievable. If China can do it in such a short time with the magnitude of people that are benefited inclusively from the growth of China, then I think it is clearly not a utopian world. It is very achievable, very tangible.
Thank you, Professor Alawain. That was Professor Alawain from Nankai University. So as he was saying, that inclusiveness is not a very abstract term. It actually is tangible, and we can see that from China's efforts to eradicate poverty by 2020, as well as other efforts that China has been made. And of course, tonight, all of the spotlight and attention is on Trump's speech in Davos. Nobody knows exactly what he's going to talk about or what rhetoric he will use. Is it going to be inclusive or divisive? Hopefully, he will deliver deliver something more inclusive than what he has in the past. And I'm sure here in China, Chinese policymakers are probably going to sit tight and listen closely to what he has to say about globalization as well as his economic agendas and policies. So the expectations are certainly high, not only in Switzerland, but also here in China. Back to you, Jingfeng.
Thank you very much. 最后for us in Tianjin. The world will need 70% more food by 2050 when its population gets up to 10 billion. What are agri-tech companies doing to meet that challenge? Chen Lei spoke to Eric Furward, CEO of Syngenta.
We've come up with solutions to help farmers do something we call conservation agriculture, where they don't till the land, they leave the carbon sequestered in the soil, it enriches the soil, they get higher yields, there's less CO2 emissions, higher quality grains, and it's good for the whole food system and obviously for the environment.
So why is that when we talk about agri-tech, people seem to have negative connotations, you know, as if you're Frankenstein scientists?
Well, I think there needs to be better education to the public of the technology and how safe it is and how well tested our technologies are and how they keep getting safer. And we do produce seeds and pesticides, and our pesticides continuously get safer. We spend a lot on research to develop safer pesticides, lower use rates. With precision agriculture now, with imaging, we can tell exactly where the weeds and the insects and the diseases are and just target those and not broadly spray. So we're looking for better and better environmental performance, but also making sure that there's plenty of food and high quality food.
And do you think there are myths around organic food being good and GMO food being evil?
We're not against organic. We sell a lot of seed and a lot of pesticides to the organic industry. A lot of people don't know that organic industry uses pesticides, but they're naturally occurring. Some of them are heavy metals, so I'm not so sure how safe they are for the soil. The average yield of organic is about 35 or 40% less. So if the world keeps moving more and more organic,
only rich people can be fed.
The rich people can buy it, but there'll be more land needed to do agriculture. In genome editing, you can just go to the plant itself. You don't take a gene from another organism, and you just modify the genes of that plant itself. In fact, this technology is used a lot in healthcare today, and it's being used increasingly in agriculture to develop new products. China has very strong gene editing technology in the country, and we do our gene editing technology development, our research in Beijing for this area.
And I know that the final regulatory approvals have been obtained for your merger with ChemChina, and that you've now delisted from the NYSE. So tell us what's ahead for the integration map.
Well, we're now 9 months into being owned by ChemChina, and it's turned out very, very well. Now employees are very pleased. I think our customers are very, very pleased also that we're investing more in the business. We've announced an acquisition of a company called Nidera Seeds in Brazil and Argentina. Very important move for us. We're buying this company from Kofco International, who we'll have a nice collaboration with after that.
So we are in Davos. Let's broaden out the subject a bit. We're talking about creating a shared future. It's been a year since the Chinese president spoke here and tried to rally the crowd about globalization and saying how we need to create a community of shared destiny. You know, were you here last year? Do you think some of that has started to be realized?
Yes, I think that was a great speech. People were still talking about it this year. It was very important, and it showed that China is going to be an important driver of globalization. And with the size of the Chinese economy now, the growth of the Chinese economy, the importance of Chinese companies to the global GDP, it was highly appropriate and much appreciated. I think there's some tensions, but I think people, even that are creating the tension, realize that we have to get through this, and a lot of that's negotiation.
The final day of the World Economic Forum 2018 is wrapping up with a big focus on promoting economic development and social inclusion. And we'll be here again at 1 p.m. GMT, that's 9 p.m. Beijing time, with all related updates. Of course, U.S. President Donald Trump will take a turn as America's salesman-in-chief Friday. trying to convince a spectacle band of the global great and good in Davos that he is beneficial for business. The 71-year-old firebrand is expected to pitch America as economically resurgent and the place to do business during his keynote address at the closing of the week-long forum in Swiss Alps. Also, there will be live coverage from the twin host cities, Davos, Switzerland, and Tianjin, China, where our correspondents and guests will dig into Trump's speech and the future of the global economy. Please tune in. And you're watching Global Business. Coming up next. China's 2017 industrial profits jumped 21% than a year ago, posting the fastest growth in 6 years.
How do we mend, heal, and create in a fractured world? More than ever, the World Economic Forum 2018 brings together diverse attendees, not just political and business leaders, but also scientists, inventors, and NGO representatives. Those with big ideas and new solutions for global challenges. Join our team in the Swiss town of Davos and the Chinese city of Tianjin, the host of this year's Summer Davos, as we follow the new and broader narratives to create a shared future. From Winter Davos in Switzerland to Summer Davos in China, our special coverage from Davos to Davos all week starting January the 22nd, only on CGTN.
What starts from a simple idea evolves, multiplies, grows into a wave of innovation, stories of success, and of inspiration. New money, only on CGTN.
Welcome back. Move to Chinese economy. Fresh data shows that China's industrial firms reached a 5-year high in 2017 thanks to government supply-side reforms. Takes a closer look.
The National Bureau of Statistics reported that large Chinese industrial firms registered 7.5 trillion yuan in profit last year. That was a 21% increase over last year and the fastest growth rate since 2012. State-controlled enterprises earned 1.6 trillion yuan, jumping 45% from a year ago. Cooperatives registered 40 billion yuan in profits, down 8.5%. Combined profits at publicly traded corporations amounted to 5.2 trillion yuan, up 24%. Foreign invested enterprises reported profits of 1.9 trillion yuan, a 16% increase. And profits of privately held corporations totaled 2.4 trillion yuan, a 12% rise. Among the NBS 3 large sectors grouping 41 industries, mining-related firms registered profits of 460 billion yuan in 2017. That was more than double the results of 2016 and a big improvement compared to last year's negative 28% growth. Manufacturing profits showed moderate growth of 18%, up about 6% from last year. And profits in the utilities sector continued to shrink in 2017 as